I'm Stila Webb.
And I'm Shuvom.
I'm going to write my first fiction novel this year.
And I'm going to film it.
And we're going to release one video each week.
And if you keep up with Stila's word count, by the end of 2017, you'll have...
Alright, 10%ers, we're back, and today we're going to talk about the 5 steps of your climax.
Previously we talked about the great book by Blake Snyder, Save the Cat, and how to use it to figure out your plot and where you're going. Now we're going to talk about his sequel follow-up, Save the Cat Strikes Back.
Sequel.
And it's got a great part in the middle about how to structure a climax, which is really, really helpful. And we're going to use it on Stila's climax.
It needs the help.
Yeah. But again, I know we recommend Blake Snyder enough, but this book is really an add-on to that one and gives you in detail how to plan your climax. We're going to use it very heavily in this episode.
You can also get a lot of information about Save the Cat, some breakdowns of movies that go through all the steps, some forums and other stuff on SaveTheCat.com, which I will link to down below.
The first stage of climax is...
gathering the team. Totally didn't read that off of a card.
Last week we talked about how you have an all is lost and a dark night of the soul moment right before your climax. So most likely the team is splintered at this point.
Yes. You have to take away all of the supports from your characters, so there shouldn't be anybody there to help. The team is broken.
Yeah, that's why you have to gather them back up. Now this is something that we hit on Stila's book. You can't have the team, 5 members of the team break apart right before the climax and then have all 5 come together like nothing happened.
You have to lose a few of your team members because the reason you broke up in the first place is going to have some sort of an effect.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of cost. So the first part of the climax is gathering what's left of your team back together. Maybe they trust the hero less, maybe there's fewer of them, maybe because they broke up they have worse weapons or something.
Maybe this is showing who their real friends are, so they're actually just figuring out who isn't really there to support them.
Yeah. This is also a scene where you gotta strap on the weapons. Just like gathering the human resources is important, but strapping on the guns and gathering the physical resources is also fun. You know, the swords sliding in, the knives sliding into boots, the noise the guns make. It's all part of the fun.
This is the Matrix when they get that big racks and racks and racks of guns. Yeah, that's that point.
Yeah, and that's literally the example Blake Snyder uses. Because even though it seems silly, that's part of the fun of a book.
It's very satisfying to watch your characters, who you're rooting for, go just deck themselves out with all the things that they're going to use to get to their goal. That's what you're rooting for.
Things that should have been established earlier on. If they have a special sword or special ammo or a special tank, these should all be callbacks to stuff you've established earlier on. Alright, gathering the team. What's it going to look like in Catcalled?
She's going to gather up Rafe is going to be there, and then she's going to go get one of the fairy queens to help deal with the other fairy queens so that she can bring that fairy queen to the bad guy and beat him up.
Before, we had a team of 3 people who split up and then 2 of them came back.
Right.
Because of this gathering the team thing, we talked about you have to have more people in the team to make it cooler, so that's why you added the fairy queens.
Yeah, I might add another character or 2 in there. Not quite sure.
Should add some. This is where you get the Ewoks, coming in.
Yeah.
The secondary characters, like, the other non-Spartans, this is where you add them up to they're part of the strapping on of weapons.
Yep.
The second stage of climax is...
storming the castle.
So, in your climax, you want to build up the bad guy's lair, or wherever they're going, as a kind of a literal castle. You want it to be scary and defended, and you want to build it up, so that when the heroes attack it and win, it's a big accomplishment.
So for the entire book, you've been talking about what you're going to go up against the entire book. What are the odds? Like, oh, we've got to go in here, and there's this other thing we got to do, and we're never going to make it, da-da-da-da, so that when you actually get to the spot, it is that bad.
Yeah. Well, at least since the midpoint. You should be heading towards
the midpoint.
Yeah. And so, yeah, a lot of authors don't build up this layer, and why should we be afraid of it? When they had the Death Star, they built it up. Everyone was afraid of the Death Star. You're like, oh no. And we had a plan. The other thing a lot of authors forget is the reader has to know the plan going in a little bit. We have to be able to anticipate stuff.
And at this point, this should be the initial plan that they've been building to since the midpoint. This is the plan that they put together in the midpoint, It seems like the plan has fallen apart and the all is lost. They gather everybody up, and they're going to actually go ahead and go through with this particular plan.
And it has to be a slightly crazy plan, because castles are meant to be defended. They're meant to be tough. So Blake Snyder says, this is when you get the characters saying, oh, this is crazy, I can't believe we're doing this, right? Because the characters living in that universe should also be scared of storming the castle. Whatever the castle is, whether it's a high security building or a other high security building.
High security building, an actual castle, going into a monster's lair, you know, into the manor house of the head vampire, whatever it is that you're storming. Yeah, going to the high security building in a Matrix.
Yeah.
Jim Butcher does a great job of this in Dresden Files Summer Night, where there's actually a cloud plane of existence above, like a little cloud Chicago over Chicago, that they climb up these little stairs to get to.
You can't stop talking about this cloud battle.
It's a great setup. So he's taken up there earlier in the book, but there's nothing there. There's nobody doing anything. He goes up there. It's a war with like all kinds of crazy creatures attacking each other, and he's got to get through this somehow and live. It's a great building up of a really good castle to storm.
Does someone say, this is crazy?
Oh yeah, a lot of people do.
Alright, so you got this is crazy.
And they lose a team member.
This is also good segue. This is also where minor character arcs pay off. All the minor characters that you've gathered along the way, some guy who's like has fast hands, one guy who's really good at mimicking voices, one guy who can steal anything. Like this is where all that little stuff pays off because the plan should be working. So minor character arcs pay off. If you got a minor character who's always getting lost, this is the one time the minor character finds his way in the map and pays off. It shows growth.
Yep.
Because the later payoffs are for your major characters. So anything minor goes here.
Right.
And finally, this is where the plan is working.
This is where it seems like they're gonna do it. They've been building since the midpoint to this. They had a little hiccup there with the All Is Lost Dark Night of the Soul. They've picked up all the pieces. This is gonna work. We're gonna get there. It's gonna make it.
Yeah. The main character has been on a journey throughout the whole book. And this is where you're like, oh, the main character, she's learned so much. Look how much she's grown throughout this book. It's really working. But things are never that easy.
It can't be.
Are they?
Nope.
So stage 3 is the High Tower Surprise. But before that, let's rewind. What is your storming the castle for a cat called? What is the castle?
Well, the castle has to be the final meeting point.
Stonehenge? That's not very defended. Okay, so if that's the case, and you gotta build up Stonehenge as like, maybe he has police around him, maybe put a magical barrier, you gotta build it up.
Yeah, I gotta do that.
Okay, storming the castle. You don't really have any like minor cabbie or hairdresser characters that should pay off.
Don't now, but I could totally put some in because I do have a set of characters that I introduce early on at the party that could totally do some stuff later.
Yeah, so that again, that's where you pay off like whatever the centaurs or whoever is helping out.
Yeah.
The goofy lovable centaurs that are helping out. All right, fast forward again. So after the plan looks like it's working and it looks like it's too easy, there's a high tower surprise. Think about a literal castle. You got the front gate and the moats and a small wall, then a big tower, then there's the high tower. So when you're just about to win, you get the deepest part, surprise.
Then something horrible happens. The plan goes awry. It's not going to work. The bad guy knew they were coming. They hit an ambush, or somebody gets killed. Like something here happens that sets them back. It breaks the plan. Their forward momentum is stopped. They're not pushing through. Why does that dude only have 3 teeth?
If you have any moles in your team, any double agents, this is when they're revealed. I was working for the enemy the whole time. If the main character has any weaknesses, oh, they're always too rash. They never work well with a team. This is when the weaknesses come out again. All the character growth that we thought we had gone through, unravels. If you ever watched the movie Gladiator with Russell Crowe, this is when Russell Crowe gets stabbed by Joaquin Phoenix, the evil emperor. You're like, oh no, everything's lost again.
Joaquin here. Joaquin.
What's the high tower surprise for Cat called?
No idea.
What's it gonna be?
No idea. Don't know. Don't know.
How's Saccharine gonna flip up the plan?
He's gonna have to do some technicality that means that the queen won't smite him right then or buys him time or something. Something's got to happen that's very technical, fey politics, procedure bullcrap.
Lots of legal stuff in this. I didn't know. Lots of legal stuff in this book, huh? So the climax is all about managing momentum. Really, you're gonna start off low, gathering the team, and you got to build up from there. You know, storming the castle is gonna be great, and this is when it comes all crashing down. You know, to a low point. Okay, and you're just kind of managing this. The funny thing is, I wrote Infinity Squad 1 before I had ever read Save the Cat Strikes Back, and my climax, looking back, kind of does exactly this. Like, oh, it's low. Okay, here's our plan. It worked. Oh no, it failed. So it's a natural rhythm. It's not like a formula. All climaxes kind of go this way.
If I remember correctly, you actually did save the cat on this part. Because you did that a lot, especially in the first one and the second one. You would actually take a chapter and just do the save the cat beats, main beats, in each chapter, and that's just what happened here. Because if you look at it, that's kind of what it does. Like, you've got this, and this is fun and games right here. You're going up, 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 up. Oh, false victory. Oh, you know, it goes down. The bad guys close in. All is lost is all right here, and then you're going to go back up again.
Yeah, maybe.
So it follows the general layout anyway, and that's kind of the whole thing. What Save the Cat really teaches you, in concrete terms, what that generally tends to look like. So that once you internalize it, then you don't have to look at it all the time. You know where to do it.
Yeah, when movies and books are boring is when the level stays constant all the while. Whether it stays constant low or constant high.
Yeah, if it doesn't go up and down, you're like, oh.
That's when Michael Bay movies get boring. But that's one thing I like about Save the Cat is it helps you swim in this momentum.
And if you do it too fast, if those changes are happening too rapidly, that is another kind of stasis, and it becomes just as boring.
Yeah. So that was a good point, that the storming the castle is like the fun and games, like your climax. Okay, so High Tower Surprise for Cat Called, we don't know.
No idea.
But after High Tower Surprise comes...
Dig deep down. Oh no, I'm bad at this.
So, after the hero's at her lowest point, then you've got to dig deep down. This is the true test. We thought this was the test, but this is what the hero's been going toward the whole time. This is the true message of the book.
Yeah, this is when you're in the thick of it, whereas in the All Is Lost, there's still that moment you could turn away and not finish what you're doing, and you'd still probably be okay. If you don't get out of this, there are serious consequences. There's not just the whiff of death, there's probably the surety of death on some level. Something will die. Before it was just, well, it could if I can't, but blah, 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 blah. This is where the true stakes of the whole thing are hinging, right here. Yeah. This is the pivot point. Yeah. This is when the hero proves that they actually have grown. They've learned something, and they use that to get them the rest of the way, to give them that impetus, that grit that they need to get through and actually win the day.
Yeah. This is the Luke use the Force moment, right? This is when the whole movie comes together.
Yep.
So you have to plan it. You can't just stumble into this on purpose. Remember when I told you guys that military sci-fi, you have to have cool weapons, but in the end you have to win because of grit and toughness?
Yep.
So here's the cool weapons, and here's your winning because of grit and toughness, right? So what's the dig deep down of Cat Called? What does Brea do that shows she's learned the lessons of the book?
This has to be Brea making the decision. She doesn't have Bella to lean on. She's got to make her own decision and go with it and trust her own gut.
Well, this is also when she manifests her powers.
Right. Where she trusts herself and uses she doesn't rely on somebody else to do all the planning for her. She's got to do it herself. You know, the planning and the decisive and this is what we're going to do. Yeah. She's got to do it herself. So I know what the dig deep down is.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm glad you said she trusts herself, because Blake Snyder says this is when the hero takes a step on faith. This is again, Luke used the Force. You have to do something on faith, and if she trusts herself, that's good enough. That's dig deep down.
Yep.
Alright.
Got it.
After that comes...
I did it this time!
Executing the new plan.
So at this point, the character trusts themselves, or they make that decision, which brings with it a new plan. That's the new plan. In this one, they're executing that plan. They're going for it. And this is when they win. That pivotal moment is what makes it so they can win. If they had fallen back into their old ways, they would lose here.
Exactly. This is what really shows you the hero's grown. Again, this is the true message of the book. Yeah, I mean, Blakestar says, the answer comes from a place we've all hoped is real, but only the hero has faith enough to trust. And when he does, he wins. And so do we. This is the test. It's the reason we tell stories and honor those who understands. This is why when we go to the final image of the movie, such as a ceremony at the end of Star Wars, we feel like we won as well, because we did. This is where you get to see the magic of what you're showing. If it's urban fantasy, magic has to be real.
Yeah.
If it's military sci-fi, guts have to conquer everything.
Yep.
If it's a detective mystery, logic has to reign supreme. In Star Wars, this was only like 5 seconds. This was Luke turning off his targeting computer and shooting it and winning.
Yeah,
but
this was just the thing going down and the Death Star blowing up. That was it.
Yeah, but this could be a long drawn out scene. This could be a long fight scene where someone finally breaks free of their inhibitions and punches the bad guy in the nose.
Yeah, this would be more along the lines of, if you wanted a long drawn out one, this would be Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
That execution of the plan was long. I mean, it was almost painfully long to see how long Luke had to suffer through that to get his father to change his mind. Like that was rough.
Yeah.
So mine's not going to end like Star Wars. Mine's going to end like Empire Strikes Back, where there's going to be a yay, but also a uh-oh.
Okay.
To set up the next one.
Everyone's trying to set up the next one.
I've already decided it's going to be a series. I don't know how long yet, but it's going to be a series.
Okay. If you're also following along at home, this is the shield still being up in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
This is the Ewoks coming to save Han, and then like you're saying, this is Luke using the Force and throwing away his lightsaber. The new plan is getting his father to do the...
It wasn't even using the Force in that.
It
was trusting his father and not using the Force,
well,
because if he had, he would have gone to the dark side.
Yeah, the idea is fighting is not the Jedi way, which is why it makes so much sense when Yoda pulls out a lightsaber in the prequels and kills 18 dudes.
Don't get me started on those prequels. Oh my...
He realized that the Jedi way is peace, not war. So that's how he executes a new plan. So, but again, this could be a long scene. This could be a 5-minute scene. So.
Yeah.
So, what's the new plan? She finds her god powers, and then she what? What does happen?
She's gonna use them.
Okay.
Yeah. It goes a little awry, but in a good way. Like, so at this point, the gate is open. You know, the Sealy Queen didn't really help, so that plan failed. You know, the mother's there and everything, and Saccharine got to do something like, okay, you aren't useful to me anymore, and like be about to kill Bella, and that's got to be the point where she breaks it out, where she's like, no, this is not happening, and she's going to use it, and it's going to blow up the gate. Stonehenge is just going to be pieces. It's going to blow up the gate. It's going to blow up the key, so there's no key anymore, but it's going to throw both Olothwin and Bella through the gate right before it breaks.
So, for you have to figure out these two parts. For you 10%ers at home, what part of the climax are you missing? So, as you're playing this out, as we're getting close to the end here, make sure you have the 5 stages of the climax.
Yep.
If you need any help, Save the Cat Strikes Back, Blake Snyder's great book, or email us at
getwriting.wang. And in the another great way to do this is to just sit down and watch some really good movies that do this well.
Watch some great 80s movies. Top Gun, Die Hard.
The new...
Don't say Moana.
Oh, no, I just saw it. It's good.
No, okay. Anyway,
Moana does it well. Inside Out does it well.
So in general, 80s blockbusters and Pixar movies do this really well.
Yeah. Pixar movies, they've got that stuff down, man.
Until then, get writing.
.wang. Transition.
Alright.